Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's podcast. It's a little bit different this week. We have got Trevor Smith on the podcast. He is an ICF professional certified coach. He is an EMCC accredited coach, and he's got 30 years international business experience to date. So he has a wealth of knowledge, and I'm really excited about sitting down to talk to you today, Trevor. Before we get into any of that, how are you? How's things? Where are you? What's been happening?
Yeah, thanks. It's great to be working with you actually today. Look, I'm in Hong Kong, which you can see behind me is the backdrop. I live on one of the outlying islands, but in the far distance, you'll see Hong Kong Island, which is where most of the work happens. It's the kind of image that you think of when you imagine Hong Kong and the Hong Kong skyline.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been here for 20 years. Previously worked in the City of London before we came here. So yeah, all's well, thank you. Obviously, you may have read about Hong Kong on the news, and there's a lot happening. Just booked my virus injection, or rather my vaccination injection, I should say, for a couple of weeks' time. So things are starting to be positive here, yeah.
Great, that's good. That's good to know. Yes, I've got quite a few friends and people that I know out in Hong Kong, and it's nice to know that things are moving in the right direction now. So there's some light at the end of the tunnel, which is awesome. For those that are unfamiliar with Trevor's work, he's the founder and executive coach of the Orchard Partnership, which is an executive coaching training company. And you work in Asia, and you work in the US, and you work in Europe, and it's phenomenal the work that you're doing. And we got to know each other through, or we actually worked together on quite a few occasions. You were looking after the executive coaching side of things for your clients, and you very kindly invited me in to work with different clients in how to use their voice and how to present themselves. And it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that time. Trevor, whereabouts are you from? Out of interest, I can sense from your accent it's the UK, but whereabouts for our listeners out there?
Well, I was born in a town called Reigate, which is in South London area. So if anyone knows the M25, it's the most southern exit on the M25. So as you look at central London, it's 6 o'clock. And I'm a Crystal Palace football supporter. For those of you that follow the Premier League, there's not many of us in Hong Kong, but there's a few. Apart from me and my son, there's a few of us. So that's where I'm from, yeah. And I spent most of my career, as I say, commuting into London. I really do miss it, actually. And of course, wasn't able to get back to the UK that often in the last few years, but although my daughter did get married, so we were back in August for a week and managed to get to her wedding.
Oh, nice.
She works in London too. In fact, she was out running just a few days ago, and she ran past Boris Johnson, who said hello to her.
Amazing.
So there we go.
That's fantastic. What about the UK? Do you miss, apart from I presume your family and things like that? Is there anything else you miss about the UK? Because you've been in, how many years have you been in Hong Kong for now?
20 years in Hong Kong. I really miss going to a country pub with a nice log fire.
Yeah.
I love British ale, like country beers, those kinds of warm ale. I do like a nice flavorful ale. And I miss cream eggs, Cadbury's chocolate.
Yeah, I was having this conversation with and I've got a few English buddies who have got Swedish wives. There's quite a few of us out here, English guys with Swedish wives, who have found ourselves in Gothenburg, Sweden. And the Easter eggs were one that the Cadbury's chocolate Easter eggs were one that came up on a few occasions. And we are determined to find a way to eat one of those, because they just don't do them here. You can get a sort of a cardboard or a paperback Easter egg with chocolates inside it, but it's not the same. Good. So you're a big football fan. That's awesome, because so am I. Have you played football much in your time, Trevor? Were you a flying wing back, or a super striker, or a dynamic midfielder? Which one were you?
No, I'm left-footed, so I tended to get picked. But I was more of a left back in the changing room, because I was no good. But I can run, but I can't really play that well. So often people would pick me because I was the one that could keep running, but I'm not that good. But I enjoy it.
Nice. I love it. Good stuff. All right. So you moved to Hong Kong 20 years ago. What was the reason for that? Was it work based, or because you made a big transition, didn't you, from sales and insurance and finance, and you were training different teams. And now, as I said earlier, you're working as an executive coach and run your own very successful company. What was the reason for that transfer to Hong Kong?
Well, the company I work for had an office out here, but I would say that from my own point of view, I did a lot of soul searching as I developed my career. And I guess I had a bit of a moment where I sort of firmed up on my faith. So I'm a Christian. So I felt it was a bit of a calling, if you like, but in fact, it was job related. So I kind of feel that the stars aligned, if you know what I mean. And it all seemed to be the right job at the right time. And actually, since we came to Hong Kong, I've just actually come off the board of a Christian charity, which is a disabled children in China, dealing with them. We had about 300 children in our full-time care. So, I'm quite active in that Christian business community here. And in fact, we have a group of Christian coaches, which is serving that market. But of course, most people wouldn't know, through my work necessarily. There's no faith aspect to my work in that sense. So, but just to share with you, that was how I feel about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, Trevor is an ICF professional certified coach. For those that have no idea what that actually means, could you give us some insight into the training that you've done and what you took away from it, the learning points from that, and how you use those skills now in your day-to-day work? That would be very interesting.
Well, coaching has emerged as a new profession. I mean, the principles of coaching are thousands of years old, but in terms of people calling themselves coaches, it's probably largely been, I don't know, 10, 15 years or so. That's really emerged. And there really wasn't, it's an unregulated industry. So what's emerged is a number of professional bodies. There's one called the International Coaching Federation, which is a US-based body that actually regulates about 70% of the coaches around the world. They've got 70 different chapters. And I was on the board in Hong Kong of the Hong Kong chapter. There's also the European, it's called the EMCC, European Mentoring and Coaching Council, which I'm accredited by. But to get that, you've got to go through a process of training. You have to have a supervision coach. So I have my own coach. I have a supervisor. I'm accountable. I have a code of ethics. I have certain hours to fulfill every year, so professional learning and development hours. And so it's quite a rigorous process. I mean, I have a whole set of other professional qualifications. For example, I'm a certified financial planner. I'm a chartered insurer. I've got securities and investments exams. And like any profession, you've got to do hours to maintain your license. So whether you were a banker or an accountant or a lawyer, you've all got to do these hours. And so it's the same with coaches. So you might meet someone who's a coach that doesn't have any credentials. And I wouldn't encourage that to be. I mean, I do work with coaches. We have a panel of coaches, by the way, that we provide to companies, and sometimes we do put forward non-accredited coaches because they may have a speciality in something. But on the whole, I think you've got to be looking for a benchmark of quality, because then that person is responsible. So, example. Why would you want to work with an accredited coach? Well, an example would be that, it's quite often, particularly today, with people under a lot of stress and mental health is very topical, a coach is trained on what to deal with and what not to deal with. So, for example, I've had clients who have disclosed that they are bipolar or they're taking antidepressants or something, and so you wouldn't tackle that. And so you need to know professionally what to tackle and what not to tackle. So I would discourage anyone from working with an unregulated or unaccredited coach, if you like. That's just my personal view. I mean, there's many different bodies these days, probably 5 or 6 different global bodies, but the 2 big ones are the ICF and the EMCC, and they have levels of credential. So there's kind of generally 4 levels within both of those organizations. My own level is I'm sort of second highest level, which means that I've been doing full-time coaching for about 7 years.
Wow. Nice. Awesome. So you've got plenty of experience and a lot of training there, and well, that's cool. So, what is the for someone that is interested in following suit, who might be inspired by your journey and what you've done so far? What is the best way for them to actually begin that path of training and education?
Well, to become an accredited coach, you need to take the ICF or the EMCC as examples. They have accredited providers in countries that you live in, and those providers they're not working for those bodies. They are, given a stamp of approval. And if you go through their training, you get a certificate, and you use that certificate to apply for their credential. You probably need to have, say, 100 hours of coaching as well, which you can clock up through, working with pro bono work and charities and so on, and paid work as well, to get to the point where you have like an ethics test. You have various different benchmarks. When you've done them, then you can get your credential. So I got mine. I then left the job. I was on the executive management team of a big financial services company in Hong Kong, Standard Life. You may know they're a Scottish insurance company who's now merged with Aberdeen. But at the time in Hong Kong, I left them, my executive role. And from there, I'd achieved my license for coaching, and I then left and went cold turkey and set up my own business from there. And that was 7 years ago. So yeah.
Wow. And did you face any challenges on the way setting up your own company? Because it's no easy feat to set up a company and actually make it fly and make it be successful. So did you face challenges in the early days of actually making that transition, getting the training, and then creating this company? How was that for you, that period?
Yeah, it was really interesting. I mean, I'm a bit of a planner myself, so I had tried to think ahead, and I had what I believed at the time to have everything in place. So I had my license, I had a website, the operation behind the company. I've been saving up a bit of a, like a cash fund, so I wasn't going to be, running out of money, within a few months, for example. So we had a little bit of savings, and so I, having then pulled the plug and gone cold turkey with no salary, you then realize that you're in the cold world where there's no, it's all down to you. So I think one of the big challenges is that, if anyone listening to this is working for a company, you probably don't fully appreciate until they've gone the sort of support you get: IT support, who's ordering your business card, stationery. They're all stuff that you're looking at. I was the receptionist. I'm the accountant. I'm the coach. I'm doing the strategy, marketing, posting on LinkedIn. You're doing everything.
Wow. So
at the start.
Yeah, at the start. So and then how? Then I suppose you have to look to build a team and build a network around you to support yourself and help you do all of those things that you've just mentioned. Was that the case then? Were you quite quick in the process into finding other people that could jump on board and help you, or were you doing it? Were you working by yourself for quite a long time? How was that?
Yeah, so I took on a practice manager to help run the business, and we've expanded. I mean, we've got there's 3 of us are employed, but we have a whole range of about 30 different coaches all across the world who work with us. And we have jobs at the moment running in places like Sydney, Kuala Lumpur, the UK, Amsterdam, Mumbai, Tokyo. And we've got people we're coaching at the moment, not just me, but our team of associate coaches. I think one of the things to bear in mind is that you've got to separate the job that you do from running a business. Right. So running a business is a separate skill set. And I like to think of it as being, it's the dilemma between, do you want to be a king or a wizard? So what I mean is, just because I'm a coach doesn't mean I can run a business. So running a business, so take Richard Branson, right? He runs his business from an island in the middle of the British Virgin Islands. He is thinking of his business as a business, right? The product will come and go, whether it's airlines, trains, or, you know, in the past it was music, condoms, whatever it was. It's a product, right?
Mm.
But so you've got to make sure you carve those out. So therefore, anyone who's looking to leave or embark on any business, you've got to make sure you know how to run a business, and that's a whole separate skill. So I spend a lot of time doing that, and I've recently analysed all my time, and I've worked out that I'm probably, even though I'm a flat-out coach, I'm coaching probably at the moment about 20 people, most of whom are C-suite, they're chief executive, or they're preparing to become chief executive, or they're a part of a law firm, whatever. Even though I'm working quite busily, I'm also spending a lot of time on just strategizing, thinking about, you know, what's our proposition, what markets do we want to be in, etc. So there's a lot involved.
And did you do training then to learn how to do that? I presume that wasn't part of the ICF training. Did you actually speak to someone about the process of building a business and looking after that side of things, or was it just a case of researching online how to do it? Like how did you know the things to look out for and the potential pitfalls and things to avoid when actually building a business then?
Well, I mean, I've had a 30-year career working in financial services, working with lots of small businesses. So my job was effectively selling to salespeople, and many of the in financial services, and many of those people run their own business. So when you work well in that space, you become very close to people and you get to pick up tips and tools. So there's a lot of what I've learned on the way, but there's some great books out there. There's a really good book that a friend of mine recommended called Traction by Gino Wickman. That's a really good book. Okay. There's also another good book by, it's Michael Gerber is the author, and it's called The E-Myth. And the E-Myth is all about how people work for a company, get frustrated, and they leave thinking they can do a better job. And when it's not until they leave, they realize that it's going to dominate, takes over their life. They can't sleep, they're working stupid hours. And this is all about systemizing your business. And those two books have been really helpful.
Okay. I will. Yeah, go on.
I also have a friend of mine is a process expert. He used to work for Philips Electronics, and he is a process expert, and he's good at designing businesses. And I paid for him to come in and consult with me. So he's helped us to structure our business. We have 8 different plans. So we have a marketing plan, strategy plan, sales plan, operations, etc. So we're quite structured, but actually when you've got structure, it takes away the worry, and you know that it will work as long as you stick to the structure. Yeah.
So there are, you can be what? Sorry, say that again.
Then you can be free to deliver your coaching, in my case, or whatever is your product and service. You're not ever going to worry about, what's happening back at the ranch when you're out on the road delivering your products and services to your clients.
The executive coaching world is one that I'm pretty fascinated by, and it's really refreshing to hear from you, someone with so much experience and knowledge in the area. So it's safe to say that your previous experiences in business and working with people at the top end has helped you on your journey to where you are today. If you weren't being an executive coach, Trevor, do you have any hidden skills that we don't know about that you could tell us about? Are you a closet singer, for example, or into, I don't know, like sports, or you mentioned you're flying down the left wing as a left back. Do you have any hidden skills? I'm always interested to know this.
So when I was younger, I used to be in a marching band, and I used to play the bugle. And my father kept the bugle. And you may, when you were in Hong Kong, you may have been to the Hong Kong Rugby Sevens. Now, I played the bugle at the Hong Kong Rugby Sevens.
Did you?
And I managed to get the whole stadium doing a Mexican wave.
Amazing. That's cool.
So and as they run out from the tunnel, I would play I can play properly. So I would play Ravalli. I can play the last post, for example. So I would play that. So when England get knocked out, I would play the last post.
That's a big achievement to get people doing the Mexican wave by playing the bugle. Can you explain to us what the Hong Kong Rugby Sevens is, to those that may have no idea? Because it's a very big and prevalent event in Hong Kong. And in other parts of the world, I presume. But I wasn't that, because I personally am not a massive rugby fan. I am more a football fan. But what is the Hong Kong Rugby Sevens?
Okay, well, it's now an Olympic sport, but in the past, that's only a recent.
Is it really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's effectively it's a tournament rugby with 7 players. It's very exciting. And it's a traveling tournament which travels to about 10 countries.
Yeah.
Los Angeles, New Zealand, Australia, Dubai, Hong Kong, Singapore, Tokyo, etc. And it travels, and there's about 25 or so, 30 countries who compete. And the top teams are usually South Africa, New Zealand, Australia, England, Japan, etc. And so it's a weekend tournament.
Yeah, I've been actually. I only went once when I was in Hong Kong. I don't know why, because I really enjoyed it. But it is a wild affair. The rugby is a big part of the event, but it's also a great opportunity to dress up like goodness knows what, and have a very, very fun time. It's awesome. I totally recommend doing it just for the experience alone, even if you're not a big rugby fan like myself. As you mentioned, the pace of it is incredible. It's the way it's structured. It's super fast. The games are short and intense, and it's a lot of fun. Good. All right then. So the Orchard Partnership, Trevor. Why did you set it up in the first place, and what were your goals for the company when you first began creating it? What were you hoping to achieve from this awesome company that's now doing incredibly well around the world?
So partly it's to do with the fact that as you get older, in my case, I'm 54, you start to get to a stage where you realize that time is short, and you realize that some people might want to leave a legacy. And you start to ask yourself questions around, well, why is the world better because I was here? And so partly it's, I'd had a successful career. I wasn't able to have the luxury of giving up working, but we got to the stage where we got some resources behind us and decided that my wife and I, we would do something that would be meaningful to other people and would align with our strengths and skill sets that we had. So really, executive coaching is really, it's serving other people. Really, it's a relatively unselfish profession in the sense that it's like being a teacher or a nurse. You're trying to help people to get from where they want to get to. And coaching is not about giving any particular answers to anybody. It's really about creating a space to think, challenge people, and help them without giving them answers. So the aim really was to make an impact with as many people as possible, to help them achieve their goals for something positive.
Very nice. And it seems to be doing that. I mean, I've had firsthand experience of watching you work, Trevor, and your attention to detail is incredible, and your passion for coaching is very, very clear. You're always prepared, super prepared for the job at hand, and it was a very valuable experience for myself, being in a room watching you interacting and coaching the clients that we worked with at the time. Okay, awesome. Well, go on.
Can I share one of my quotes? And it's
this: yes, do it.
Better to be prepared for an opportunity and not have one than to have an opportunity and not be prepared.
Oh, I love that. That is going down for sure. We're attaching that to the episode. That's great. I love that. Good. All right. This briefly, I want to talk about 2020. I talk to all of my guests about this. and everyone has a completely different take on it. How was 2020 for yourself? What effect did it have on your business, yourself, people around you, and how did you overcome it?
Okay, well, there's multiple levels to that question. The first one is, if you just take a financial measure, then our business, we wrote the same income as we did the previous year. So that's good. However, we probably earned more profit because I was doing less traveling, because I couldn't. So therefore, we probably earned more money profit-wise. Okay. But income, gross income was about the same. However, I would say that what we did was more meaningful, because I think a lot of people were needing support. They were struggling with COVID, switching to online, working from home, feeling isolated. A lot of senior leaders were already working on their own, but then to switch, their teams were working on their own. And many people probably, I love working on my own. I've worked on my own pretty much for 7 years in terms of, I have a home office. I have an office in central Hong Kong in the picture behind me. But I'm quite happy to. I'm an only child. I know how I work best, right? So I'm quite happy to work on my own. I'm an extrovert, so I love being with people, but I'm quite happy to be on my own. Now, a lot of people are not like that. So I think offering them support. So I found that what we were doing was far more meaningful, and it was on a whole different level. I did a course, for example, on mental health first aid. So I could be aware to help spot the warning signs for people. So I actually learned a tremendous amount. I wrote a list at the end of the year of what I'd learned, and I managed to do this mental health first aid. I got some more accreditations in coaching. I read a number of significant books. Our client base really broadened, and I was able to work in some countries that I hadn't worked in before, because up to then, people were sort of thinking that they would always want someone locally as their coach. But after having adjusted to online working, they realized that they could actually work with a coach remotely. So in fact, I'm working, for example, at the moment, I'm coaching a lawyer who's based in Jakarta in Indonesia. I'm coaching a chief exec of a non-profit who's based in Amsterdam. I'm working with a senior leader in Mumbai. So the coaching model actually is switched largely to online. However, I'm still meeting people face to face. So, I've got, I don't know, last week was unusual because a lot of people reorganized because there's an outbreak of COVID in Hong Kong. So a lot of people decided to postpone the meetings. But for example, next week ahead, I've probably got, just looking at my calendar, I've probably got 18 or 20 meetings booked in. Almost all of them are face-to-face. So it's, an adaptable business.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's good. It's good to hear that, it's been a pretty positive experience for you then, 2020. Yes. Awesome. All right, we're going to jump on to actually, before we do that, if people are interested in connecting with you, Trevor, if they would like to say hi or, want to potentially work with you at some point in the future, or are in need of your help and your expertise, what is the best way for people to get in touch? And I will put these links down in the description as well.
Thank you. So my email address is ts@theorchardpartnership.com. I'm on LinkedIn. If you check out the orchardpartnership.com website, I've got a couple of short videos on there, and we're always posting free content. So you're welcome to sign up to what we do. The last bulletin we sent round, for example, was the headline was "Give yourself permission to have worry time." So this whole idea of having scheduled time to worry. So block out an hour and just write down what are you worried about, and then give yourself permission to worry about it. Say, okay, I'm really worried about this. How can I fix it? And then start to brainstorm, share it with your family, your friends, and so on. Well, what would you do? And etc. So that bulletin was all about having scheduled worry time. The next one we've got coming up is all about the benefits of self-awareness and how doing these personality profilers and getting feedback is really good for developing your career. We've done, we also run online events. We've done one on AI. and so on. So you're always welcome to connect us. So it's ts@theorchardpartnership.com.
Wow. So I love the fact you've got all these great resources online that people can just jump on and take a look. All right, we're going to jump to a bit of a wacky game before we close, Trevor. It's Would You Rather. I'm going to ask you 5 questions. They're silly questions, and that is okay. Because sometimes you just need to be a bit silly. Right, number 1. Would you rather have super sensitive taste or super sensitive hearing?
Taste.
Very
I
good.
think I love my food.
Yeah. You're in a good part of the world for that. There's phenomenal food everywhere. Would you rather have constantly dry eyes or a constantly runny nose?
Nose. At least I could see where I'm going then.
Would you rather never lose your phone again or never lose your keys again?
Keys. Actually, I don't have keys because we use a punch code system for our door, and I've not owned a car for 20 years.
Well, there we go.
So I don't actually have keys.
You don't have any keys? Nothing?
I don't have keys. The only key I've got is for the lock on my mountain bike.
Oh, there we go.
Which I actually used yesterday, but I don't. That's the only key I've got.
Yeah. Do you mountain bike a lot? Is that your big passion? Your big hobby?
If you see the picture behind me, these hills, you can mountain bike around them. So yes.
Do you?
I enjoy
wow.
It.
That must
actually
be so...
the view that you're looking at now. There's a group of us Friday morning. We leave at 6 o'clock in the dark. We hike to the top of this hill, which takes about an hour, 45 minutes, an hour, and then we have coffee on the top and come back down. So this is I can't do it tomorrow, but I normally do it every week.
Oh, that is lovely. It's making me feel a little bit funny because that view is one I'm very familiar with, and it's a stunning backdrop. Anyway, I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to cry. Number 4, would you rather have out of control body hair or a strong, pungent body odor?
Hair.
Hair. Yeah, I think I'm on board with that one. Would you rather be unable to have kids or only be able to conceive quintuplets?
Well, I definitely want to have kids. I mean, we've got 2 kids, and I wouldn't like to live without them. So, as long as I can have kids, I'll be happy.
Okay, let's go with that one. Very nice. All right, good stuff, Trevor. Before I let you go, we would love Trevor Smith's final thoughts, an uplifting approach to life, how to deal with positive and negative change. I'll leave that with you to close the episode.
Sure. Well, I live by a mantra. It's a formula, and the formula is E plus R equals O. Okay, so E is an event. Yep. So an event happens, it's out of your control. R is your reaction to that, which is an emotional reaction, which often you can't control. So you're sad, something's happened, you need to allow yourself a chance to grieve or to somehow react to that event. React to that event. The next R is respond. So you choose how you respond, and that determines the outcome, which is the O. So event plus reaction plus your response. That's the key one. Your response determines the outcome. Okay. So nothing is preset. How you respond really does matter with the outcome. You can't control life events. Things will happen. COVID will happen. You might lose your job. You might, the stock market goes down. It starts raining. How you respond is the key thing. Okay. And that determines the outcome. So you've got to think consciously about how you respond. And that's a choice. You may think, oh, I can't choose. But actually, when you're born with a blank hard drive. And what tends to happen is you make assumptions and you program yourself to work in a particular way. All of that can be changed, if you like, or you can be consciously aware of it and you can select your response. So all I'm saying is things happen. but a lot of it is down to you and the way that you tackle these things. And that's why a lot of people these days talk about positive mindset and so on and so on. It is absolutely true. I left school with hardly any qualifications. My mum and dad were very humble beginnings. My mother couldn't read or write, and she could, but very basic, right? But not enough to be able to teach me. So most of what I've got is self-taught. I've been really blessed with some wonderful opportunities, and my goal is to help others. That's my takeaway. Think consciously about how you respond, because the outcome is often determined by how you personally react.
Wow. That's yeah, I'm gonna definitely take that one away. It's definitely some food for thought there for sure. Thank you so much for today, Trevor. It's been a pleasure having you on, and wish you all the best in Hong Kong. And yeah, we'll be in touch.
Sure,
Thanks,
we'll do. Thanks. Cheers.
It's all about building a trusted relationship. So I'll create a supportive environment where you can explore, reflect, and focus on your goals. No two executive coaching assignments are the same. We tailor-make them. But what I'd expect is that we'd have a structured session, maybe over 6 months or so, through probably face-to-face, video, or Skype. Some of the common areas of focus: leadership development, developing your management style, so you can be authentic in the workplace. I often work on helping people develop their careers, stepping up to a new role, perhaps covering a challenge like moving from a technical role into something that needs more soft skills. I often work in influencing and communication, collaborating with others and being assertive. Sometimes it means being able to adapt to cross-cultural settings. Maybe it's offering fresh perspectives on challenges that you face. Sometimes as a coach we get 360 feedback from respected colleagues. Perhaps we may go for an assessment profiler to help identify your natural strengths. As a trained facilitator, I often work with coach as high-performing teams, building those teams and helping them to perform at their best. Now, my range of clients are from very diverse industries, ranging from government industries, financial services, property, media, retail, professional services organisations, IT, telecoms. I even have clients with their own television series, authors and professional musicians. But I like to give back as well. I give 10% of my time for non-profits. I work with churches, young leaders, and I'm also on the board of a disabled children's charity focusing on abandoned children in China. And in case you're wondering, yes, I do have my own coach. It's important to be accountable, keep developing, and to stay on top of your game.